We've got review scores, game length, and some potential insight into future DLC for Resident Evil 4 Remake coming up in this video. Before we get into all that, let me remind you one last time that I have an ongoing giveaway for the Deluxe edition of the game, in which there will be 2 winners. You heard me right, there will be 2 people randomly selected that will win the Deluxe edition of Resident Evil 4 Remake for the platform of their choice. To enter, hit the link in the description or in the pinned comment, and make sure to do that as the giveaway will end on Monday night, March 20th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be releasing a follow-up video the day after on Tuesday, revealing the winners. As a reminder, please check your emails, as I will have the program randomly select another winner if I haven't heard back from a winner within 2 full days. Those that win will receive the game before launch date, so don't worry about that. Now that that's taken care of, let's get into these reviews, shall we? Word on the street is that Resident Evil 4 Remake is an incredible game. Not only does the game live up to the expectations for many that reviewed it, but the game also surpasses the original for many, and for that original game to have been received as one of the best games of all time is quite an accomplishment for Capcom, especially coming after the very mixed Resident Evil 3 Remake. Sitting at a whopping 93 on Metacritic with 90 reviews in as of the writing of this video, this is one of the highest rated games in recent years, and one that many fans and critics alike will be talking about for years to come. What many reviewers were quite pleased with was the overall care that was taken to bring this classic title to the present generation with improved graphics, much improved gameplay and handling of Leon and his various mechanics, and better pacing, while wrapping it up in a more atmospheric package that respects the identity and core components of the original game. And we've got a meaty game here, with reviewers taking anywhere from 12 to 15 hours to complete the main campaign, with around half of the side quests completed. For those seeking to get everything done in a single playthrough, around 20 hours could be likely. Let's not kid ourselves, as this game even has an achievement tasking players to complete the game in under 8 hours. Yeah, this game is going to be easily the longest Resident Evil game other than RE6 as far as main campaigns are concerned. 3 months ago, I made a video about how the developers at Capcom were keeping all 3 areas intact in the game, being the village, castle, and the island section, and while all these areas are represented in the game, it sounds like Capcom took great liberties in staying faithful through much of the campaign. While many reviewers were surprised to see just how similar the game's opening several hours were to that of the original, once the later acts fired up, did reviewers see where Capcom deviated from the source material. Cutting content with no substitution is not what is needed in Resident Evil 4, a sentiment myself and many fans would agree with, especially after the polarizing RE3 remake. But replacing content if it were to be cut is the way to go when altering a game, and it seems like the cuts that were made to the game were applauded to keep in line with the game's pace, which is admittedly an area that the latter part of the original struggled with at times, during the island section. Hear me out on this. When we heard the news that Capcom wasn't cutting content from the game, many people assumed that Capcom was literally keeping everything in there. Well, that simply isn't true. Capcom made that statement referring to the island section, remarking that it wouldn't get cut. While Capcom was vague with that statement, people coming into this remake expecting everything to be exactly as it was in the original will definitely be disappointed here, as some things were cut to be replaced with something else to better keep the pace of the story, with each section of the game feeling more fleshed out and representing different levels of atmosphere, introducing unique gameplay sections that strengthen the pacing and direction of this remake. It sounds like this game is not a disappointment in regards to the main campaign. Now, we gotta address what we are all thinking here, and that is what reviewers have to say may not really align with what the fans have to say or even want in a remake of this classic. But when you have a game that is this well received, especially over the previous remakes of the series, this remake sounds like it will truly be the greatest remake Capcom has done in the series. Greatness is all subjective and all, absolutely, so we are ultimately the ones to decide for ourselves if the game is truly great or not. Regardless, if I could summarize what all these reviewers had to say in a single sentence, it would be, This is for those who want to experience Resident Evil 4 with improved graphics, expanded gameplay, and a more consistent and better paced retelling of the events that made the original so great in the first place. It looks like for those that wanted Capcom to keep literally everything intact throughout this dozen-plus hour game will be the ones potentially disappointed here. As stated earlier, Capcom has replaced some sections of the game with newer sections to better pace the game. While this may sound bad and be an instant turnoff for some, I look forward to seeing what impacts these new additions have. At the end of the day, we always have the original if we want to play that classic game. Now, if you have been thinking that I have been intentionally vague about what content has been omitted, that has been on purpose, because many reviewers have been forthright about what content from the original just isn't here in the remake. So yeah, here it is, a spoiler warning for those that don't want to be spoiled about what content isn't in the game. We will not be going over story spoilers here pertaining to endings or the fates of characters. No. Instead, we will be going over game modes, story moments, etc. that are not present in the remake. Alright, still here? Awesome, let's get into it. So for one, Mercenaries is not included with the game at launch and will instead be its own DLC shortly after the game releases. 2. The U3 boss fight is said to not be here in this remake, and instead was replaced with something else. 3, and this is a big one, Ada does not have her Separate Ways campaign here in this remake. This, I have to say, is something I am certainly disappointed with, but by no means a deal breaker, seeing as this mode was never included in the original GameCube release, and instead debuted on the PS2 version several months later. That being said, what we have here at launch for Resident Evil 4 is simply the main campaign as far as modes are concerned, which is indeed lacking when looking at the original RE4 release that had Mercenaries and Ada's short, yet redundant, Assignment Ada chapter. With the promise of Mercenaries coming after the game launches, will a 15-hour campaign be enough to hold over fans of the original? Well, that's up to you, but considering I spent 90% of my time with Resident Evil 4 just playing the main campaign, I'm happy to hear that we have a lengthy campaign to dive into, along with the promise of Mercenaries and PSVR 2 support coming later. In addition, I wouldn't disregard the potential for a more fully featured Separate Ways campaign to come sometime down the line. Industry insider Dusk Golem, with a so-so track record for correctly providing us the behind-the-scenes developments of several Resident Evil projects, did say on Reset Era last week that Capcom have been working on a Separate Ways DLC that would expand upon Ada's campaign and bring with it many of the bells and whistles that the main campaign sports in the remake. It could be just like the original in 2005, where that mode was released several months down the line. So, I want to know from you, is this a deal breaker that we won't be able to play Separate Ways in this remake, or at launch? I already let you know my thoughts, but I'd love to hear what the Resident Evil community thinks about this in general. Remember to participate in the giveaway if you haven't already done so, and make sure to watch this video here on all the recent updates regarding Resident Evil 4 Remake and its massive campaign. Make sure to watch Tuesday's video as we will be going over the winners of the Deluxe Edition giveaway. Thank you all for the awesome support, and I will see you real soon in the next one. Peace!